The Navigating Disability podcast often discusses topics including disability, injury, mental health, and mentions of sensitive issues such as trauma and suicide. Listener discretion is advised. Please take care while listening.
We get one shot at life, one chance. And I don't know what's on the other side of death. But we get this one chance, and it's a very short time that we get on this planet. But when we get to the end of our lives, and I've been there when people get to the end of their lives, I think we want to look back and have no regrets, right? And and I think some of the biggest regrets might be that we didn't try. So if there's a passion, I think, or if there's a dream, it's okay to try and fail. But I urge you, I urge you at least to try.
Welcome to the Navigating Disability podcast. In this episode, we are so excited to introduce Dr. Dinesh Palipana. I'm going to get it right. The first quadriplegic medical intern in Queensland. Dinesh is a doctor, lawyer, disability advocate, and researcher who works in the emergency department at Gold Coast University Hospital and teaches at Griffith and Bond universities. Dinesh co-leads the BioSpine research team and is a passionate advocate for disability rights. Dinesh also serves in various leadership roles, including as an ambassador for the Human Rights Commission's Includability Program. Tune in to hear about his inspiring journey and efforts to create a more inclusive world. Welcome, Dinesh.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about your background. What led you to being where you are today?
Well, so I just turned 40 last year, and it's been a great 40 years, but it's been with ups and downs as well. But it all started back in Sri Lanka when I was born in 1984, and we lived through the civil war of Sri Lanka, which there's actually a renewed interest in investigating some of the war crimes that happened in Sri Lanka. So a lot of hardship that people went through, and a lot of poverty and struggle. And actually thinking back to the place I was born in, even today, people with disability have a pretty challenging life. And there are many people actually who have an injury like mine that just won't survive for too long. I'm always mindful of that and I suppose the privilege I have of having this life. So I was born there. We moved to Australia when I was 10 years old, and we've been here ever since. I finished high school and I studied law. So I got a law degree first, but I had depression when I was in law school. And so I started to see a doctor for that depression. And that's what inspired me to become a doctor myself, because it was such a life-changing thing, recovering from the depression. It was just changed my whole world. And I wanted to do that for others. So I became a doctor. I got into medical school. But then I had a car accident, which caused a spinal cord injury. And since that, I've been paralyzed from the chest down. My hands have been affected as well. And it has been indescribably life-changing, the spinal cord injury. I don't think I ever imagined the depth of what such an injury looks like. I think I always used to see people using a wheelchair, but I never understood what it'd be like to really live life using a wheelchair. I never really understood what it's like not being able to use my hands um, or just the social issues that come with it, healthcare, education, employment, all that kind of stuff. But I came back to medical school, and it was education and employment is challenging for people with disability, right? We know that, and the numbers are pretty dire. And it was the same for me when I came back to medical school. There were various challenges, not so much actually doing it, but it was largely attitudes that was the problem. But anyway, Uh, Went through that, and then here we are, 9 years after graduating from medical school, chatting with Kate and Jen.
And what a story. I didn't realize you were born in Sri Lanka. I have been to Sri Lanka. What a beautiful place. And you are absolutely right. Being a third world country, the resources that are available to everybody, let alone people with disability, they really are at a massive disadvantage. Can I take you back to that time when you had your accident? Can you tell me about when you woke up in the hospital? What do you remember of that time?
Well, I was awake the whole time, actually. So I was awake when the ambulance came. I was awake when the fire truck came. I was awake the whole time. But I suppose, ending up in the hospital that night, and then I did go to sleep after the operation, and I was in the ICU. I woke up.
Did
I,
you know that you had
yeah.
something major?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I was a medical student then. I knew what had happened. But when I woke up, I suppose, a few days later after the operation and everything, um, I don't know. I think it was so many emotions. On one hand, I was happy to be awake and to see my friends and family who were at the ICU. And actually, one of the first things I remember is opening my eyes and seeing a friend that was there. So that was that. But then actually the reality of it all came down on me, and I realized I was paralyzed and my life had changed, and I still needed a lot of support to stay alive. At that time, the lungs were struggling and the cardiovascular system was struggling. Like there was a lot happening in the intensive care unit, and I was there for a number of days. So it was so hard. Like physically, it was really hard. And I think intensive care units, there's a lot of work being done at the moment to improve ICUs. So I have a really good friend who's doing some work on creating the ICU of the future, where there's even things like circadian light and things to make the experience for a patient better. But for me, I was staring at the ceiling. I didn't know whether it was day or night. I didn't know. And there was just a nurse, and all I could see was the glow of the screen on their face. So to have all that, where in a situation like this, where just like my life just fell apart, it's really hard. Like that environment is really, really hard. I was hallucinating sometimes. And then just I suppose, the emotional and social impact of that, on top of it, like the impact on it, on my family and friends. And it was,
Do you think it was, sorry to interrupt you, do you think it was worse or better having that medical knowledge that you had?
uh, neither probably. Like, I think because I made a choice not to think about that. I mean, I could understand things, but what could I do about it? So I just thought I'm just going to be a patient now and not really think about this like a medical student.
Yeah.
But it did help to understand some things, and it certainly helped to manage the complications of the injury and a lot of things afterwards. So it's a balance, but I just chose to be a human being and a patient at that time.
How
So
long?
did
Sorry, Jen.
okay. So you mentioned that you suffered depression when you were doing your law degree and things like that, and then you moved into the medical side. How did that go when you had your injury and things like that with regards to your depression and being in hospital and things like that? How did you cope with that creeping back in and manage that?
It's a great question. It's a funny thing. Like it's been a tough journey, and there's been a lot of times where it was a struggle. And I think hard is different to depression.
Yeah.
I've I've never actually articulated that comparison before. So
I like it. It's really true.
yeah, I think hard is different to depression. So it was hard. and I took a lot of time to myself, where I was thinking about things and pondering and reflecting and considering how to deal with it. So there was a lot of time where I was withdrawn to myself, but no, not depression in the way that I experienced it previously.
Yeah.
Depression's a hard thing. It's really tough.
Depression's almost like you don't have any control over it, whereas hard you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think you're just in hard, you're kind of grinding through it, but with depression, it is different. But no, I don't think I experienced depression like I did previously after I had the accident. Thank the universe or the Lord or whatever.
Because it could have went either way, right? It could have catapulted you somewhere that you didn't want to be. So it's a saving grace that it didn't creep in at that point.
Yeah, and actually with spinal cord injury, it's a real thing, like understandably, right? It's such a life-changing thing and a lot of people go through it. Fortunately, I'd already been through depression, so I think perhaps that might have equipped me with a set of tools to think about it. Yeah. Hard though. It's hard for so many people. I mean, it's such a devastating thing that can happen to someone.
How did your parents cope? Were your parents with you, as in the hospital?
Yeah. Yeah, my mom was there all the time, and it was really hard for all of them. It's really hard for mom and dad. It's hard for my grandparents. Um, but I think mum's been the one who's been there with me consistently over the last 15 years since this has happened. But it did affect her marriage to my dad, and they split up. So I haven't seen my dad for a long time, but it's like a bomb, right? I think it just doesn't. Of course, the center of the bomb experiences the most destruction, but there's still a radius around it that gets affected.
Yeah.
And mum was probably the closest person to it.
And I think as parents, we want to protect our kids, right? And this is something where we're helpless as parents to navigate that for your child. So it does have those sets of different pressures, because we're grieving a life that you thought your child would have, and now you're fronted with such a tragedy and an accident, and it just changes the whole trajectory of life for everyone. So it's hard.
And I think the love of a parent, when we come to these conversations about navigating disability, like it's I don't know. I mean, for myself and a lot of other people, like I have one of the most poignant conversations I've had was someone with a particular condition, who wants to become a doctor. And I was talking to them, and they said, I said, what do you want to like? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to what do you want life to look like? And they said, I just want to make sure that I'm providing for my mum because my mum has been the center of my world and she's given up so much for me. So it just reminded me the investment that parents make and the love that they give and everything that they put into their children in these journeys. Yeah, I think the parents are incredible.
And it's so sad what you said about your parents separating, because there's such a high number of parents with children with disabilities that do separate. They can't navigate through the hard times, and it's a really sad number that there isn't the support there for the parents. Has there ever been a time, Dinesh, that you felt like giving up?
Um, I don't think there's been a time where I felt like giving up, but there's been times where it's been really hard and how to, I just didn't know where things were going to head. I didn't know where, um, I just didn't know how I would get through it. I didn't know how I'd get through it. Um, there's been times where everything felt like it was lost. There's been times where I just didn't know how we were going to move forward. There's been times where, yeah, there's even been times where, I've had some complications from a spinal cord injury, especially early on. And I was like, you know, I don't know how I'm going to survive this. So there's been a few bits and pieces like that. But yeah, I think the will to live has always been there, and the will to somehow like inch forward has been there.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere that is there anything that you've done that has allowed you to move forward? Is it a change in mindset, or is it a being hard on yourself, or how have you keep putting one foot in front of the other?
Um, it's been a combination of things, I guess. Again, I'm lucky, very lucky to have my mum, who's been a person that has never given up herself. But also, I think she's always been there next to me and encouraged me to keep moving forward. So I think my mum has been a really important part of that journey. And she's always taught me, I think, from when I was a kid that we always just keep moving, So mum has taught me a lot of things over the last 40 years. Um, but I guess like the two things are we either stop or we keep moving. And sometimes when you're in the desert, you, I guess if you stop, you can die of heat and thirst. Whereas maybe if you keep moving, maybe you might make it, maybe you might not, but at least you're giving yourself a shot. Sometimes it feels like that.
Your mum sounds like an amazing person.
Very special one. Yeah.
Special. How does she fit into your life today?
I mean, I feel like we're a team. Like she's still there every day. She still helps me with a lot of things. Um, but yeah, we've gone through a lot of hardship. Like we've lost. We were migrants to this country, so we started afresh. And it took a long time to buy a house. It took a long time to build an economic foundation. If you think about it, like it's really just starting afresh, right? So
Starting with nothing, really.
yeah, starting with nothing, and then about 15 years into that journey, uh, was it 15? Yeah, about 15 years into that journey, this happened. So then we sold our house again, then we got into debt again to pay for things, and we had all these costs. And this was the pre-NDIS days, right? That's why the NDIS is so important
Yeah.
for people, because it creates equity for everyone to participate in the community and try. So it was really hard. And we were without a home. We were going from place to place. We were without belongings. We were without anything. So now, like, it's through the work of me and mum both. Like, it's taken a team effort to get to where we are today. So it's nice. Like, I think we take a lot of moments, me and mum both, to reflect and be grateful, to think where we are. And there's been so many occasions, especially over the last couple of years, where we've been, geez, this is like a dream, isn't it? Like to,
Look at where you are now.
yeah.
Is there any other siblings, or is it just you?
So I had two half sisters, um, uh, and I haven't seen them for a long time either, especially after the accident. And these things are devastating for families. I think some families get close, some families split up. I see people all the time at work in the hospital, parents with children, or parents, like some of the most heartbreaking stuff is parents who are in their 70s and 80s still looking after their child who's probably in their 40s or 50s, who have a disability, right? Like I think even my mom was telling me a story about someone she's supporting. It's like, this guy's mum is in her 80s and she was crying on the phone about what's going to happen to a kid who doesn't have the NDIS and stuff. So I think that, like, but I guess the point is there are some families that just last a long time, and then there are families that explode.
Mhm.
Um, and for us, it's just been me and mum, and the rest of the family we haven't seen for a long time, and that's okay. Like, there's no, I don't think I think about them. Like, I don't think about them positively or negatively. Like, I just don't think about it.
Yeah.
So, it's been a long time since I've seen them.
What did it look like for you after the accident, continuing with your medical training? What supports had to be put around you to ensure that you could continue?
Um, I think we actually overthought it a lot. We didn't end up needing, like, I just came to medical school. Of course, we had to figure out some workarounds for some stuff. Like, I had to learn how to use a stethoscope again and hold it with my hand, and how to examine a patient, how to do some simple procedures, but like, I function in the um, emergency department today. Like, I do night shifts and I do all that stuff. Um, but I think we overthought it. And those days, um, it was state-based funding and care. And the care agency that was around then was very inflexible. And they were like, well, you just have to, and they were more interested in maximizing their profit.
Mm.
So, because I was a medical student at the time, like, of course, I was at the hospital through the day, but I was around after hours as well. And they wanted to provide more care after hours because it was a higher rate of billing, and sometimes it wasn't as useful for me. So there were things like that that were very challenging, and that's why, again, going back to choice and control has been very, very important,
Mm.
because all of this is meant to benefit someone with a disability, right? So yeah, those days I think we just managed, me and my mom, and we didn't need as much as we thought we did. So I just went around and did the stuff. And
Did you find you were limited by people's opinions and thoughts rather than treating you as a human and expect it? Like, I believe everybody has potential and you have the right to reach that potential. Doesn't matter if your potential's here or potential's here. Um, a lot of the times with disability, you don't know what your potential is until you give something a go.
yeah, I think yes. So for me, it wasn't so much the physical environment. I mean, like, things like that are really good to have, obviously, right? It helps us get around, like reducing the amount of stairs, having ramps, having elevators, all that. It's awesome. But I think if someone is not willing to let you into a building, then that's the worst thing, right? So, and it was the same with the career. I think it wasn't so much the physical, like, we figured out ways to navigate a lot of those things. But it was the attitudes that were the most problematic. One really good example that I always highlight is someone who said that the patients wouldn't take me seriously. But it hasn't been the case. Well, I've been a doctor now this is my ninth year as a doctor, and I've seen thousands of patients, and I don't know if anyone's thought that, whether I could do my job. I don't know what people think, but certainly for the many patients that I've been privileged to see, no one has ever asked for another doctor. I feel
Mm.
like, so it's really been an attitude thing, and I think the community is a lot further ahead than institutions and bureaucracy.
It's almost like they've got preconceived ideas.
Yeah, but I think that is one challenge in our world today. Regardless of disability, I think if we can put away ideas about people and treat each other as a human being, I think we could transcend a lot of these issues with race and politics and conflict. It's because we don't listen to each other, right? And we don't hear each other and we don't give each other an opportunity. I think that's why we get into so much conflict and trouble. But we just got to put away these ideas and go, well, I'm talking to Jen and I want to hear who Jen is,
Yeah.
or I want to hear who Kate is, rather than going, okay, it's a lady with glasses. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
think rather than making a judgment.
Absolutely right. And it's just people need to see beyond. It's just treat people how you want to be treated and respect them in kind.
Yeah,
And
I cannot agree more.
yeah. So what, during your journey, you're now a medical doctor in the ED department at one of the most respected hospitals in Queensland. What would your advice be to other people that have a disability that feel stuck and, feel stuck by their situation and feel that they can't follow their passion?
Um, like I get it. I get the barriers. I get the attitude problems. I get all that. I get the barriers to accessing education. I get the barriers to accessing the community and employment. I get that, but I think together we can do more. I think we have to be united, and I think we have to be there for each other. And we have to try at least support one person at a time. So if you ever want to look me up and ask questions, please reach out. Is one thing. But
And you've been nothing but approachable from the minute we first reached out. So thank you so much.
no, well, I always think people did that for me, right? Like I think there were people who did that for me, and I need to do the same to honor those who were there for me. So I think we got to be united, and I think we have to push together. I also think we get one shot at life, one chance, and I don't know what's on the other side of death. But we get this one chance, and it's a very short time that we get on this planet. But when we get to the end of our lives, and I've been there when people get to the end of their lives, I think we want to look back and have no regrets, right? And and I think some of the biggest regrets might be that we didn't try. So if there's a passion, I think, or if there's a dream, it's okay to try and fail. But I urge you, I urge you at least to try
Yeah.
and not to stop. Because a lot of the people that say no, a lot of the people that don't believe in our journeys, and a lot of the people that have those attitudes when it comes to the end, when we're on that bed and breathing our last breaths on this planet, they're not there, and it's just us, and it's not worth giving them that opportunity in one window of time to stop our lives.
Yeah. Well said. Absolutely well said. Because you're right. We have one life, so live it to the fullest because you never know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could say anything to your younger self, what would it be?
Hmm. I, I wouldn't be here, like none of us would be who we are today or where we are today if things were different when we were younger, and everything that has come before us has shaped us to who we are today. So I think if I could go back, I wouldn't really change anything. I wouldn't say anything to change that. Um, and I've been asked this question before, and my answer is always like I'd say, yeah, you're damn handsome. So
I love it. I love it. We're getting to the point of wrapping up. What are your future hopes, Dinesh? Not only for yourself, but for the community as a whole and the disability community?
There was a singular dream for a period of time, and there was a singular goal, and and life was really simple for that time, and that was to become a doctor. That was to get through medical school. So there was a lot of effort. Like I remember doing, I was awake for 20 hours most days until I graduated because I'd been away from medical school for 4 years by that point. I wanted to catch up, I wanted to prove myself, and I wanted to get here. And now I'm here. So there are a couple of few things that I'm working on which are great, and I feel very fortunate with opportunity today. Um, but I think I have this author that I really love, and it's Ryan Holiday, who's written a bunch of books around stoicism. But GQ magazine did an interview with him recently, and he said, "Where to next? What are your goals?" And he said, "I don't have any goals. Like I just want to do now. So I think I just want to do, and I love being a doctor. I love seeing patients. And I think now the journey is not about me finishing medical school or anything, but it's about others. It's about kids who have disability and want to do something. And so it's about making the world a bit better for those before me. And I feel honestly that Australia has given me so much after coming here from a place of war and suffering. So I want to make sure that I do right by the country that has taken me in and to leave something for it, but also to elsewhere in the world, because I think being an economic powerhouse and a country that has things like the NDIS, while we need to do as much as we can for our own country, we should probably be a beacon for the rest of the world as well. So that's where I'm at right now.
That's so lovely to hear. It's so refreshing.
True inspiration right there.
Yeah. And thank you so much for opening up your life with us on Navigating Disability. We really appreciate it.
It's been an absolute honor, Dinesh. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Jen and Kate. You're amazing. Thanks for reaching out, and thanks for the chat. I look forward to meeting you both in person sometime.
Oh, well, I'm on the Gold Coast, so I'll probably run into you at some point.
Yeah, say hello. We'll have a coffee.
Absolutely. But you take care.
Take care.